Mm-hmm. Yes.
Welcome to Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. And of course, the AFC South is coming down the stretch. We got the Colts on fire. The Titans trying to close out the AFC South with a division crown. And the Jags and Texans are trying to finish the season with some sense. The view from the inside is cool, but it's always good to take a look from the outside or a different lens, as it would say. On this episode, we're going to take a look at the AFC South from outside looking in, and my guest on this episode is bringing his outside view from Washington, D.C.
Yes, sir.
He writes hockey for the three-point conversion. I want to welcome Mr. Malik Jackson. What's going on, man?
Hey, Mike. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be on the AFC show with my good friend Mike here. I'm just eager to get, on with the road and get talking a little bit of sports. As we were just talking pre-show, it's been a long day running errands, ripping and running, and also trying to stay safe with, COVID going crazy right now, So, prayers out to everybody and hope for, the happy holidays and just everybody stay safe out there, first and foremost.
Gotcha. Definitely do all the precautionary things to protect yourself. Of course, speaking of, you write on some hockey, and of course, I've been trying to get into hockey a little bit more, over the years, with the success of the Nashville Predators, things like that here in Nashville. I got to ask, how did you get into hockey and begin to understand, follow, and love the game?
So it started at the age of like 8 years old. Being here in Washington, D.C., the Capitals weren't really a good hockey team for a long time, being the reason why we had the number one overall pick to select Alex Ovechkin. Really, when he got drafted, that's how I got into the sport. Funny thing was about it, I actually didn't like hockey in the beginning. I would go on TV to want to see Gilbert Arenas play with the Washington Wizards. And of course, some days they would just have one channel where you could either watch the Wizards or you could watch the Capitals. Most of the time, it would be Capitals games that came on. And so I was like, I don't want to watch hockey. But then at the same time, I was like, well, it's on. So I might as well tune in and try to understand the game. And I was like, 10, 11 years old, whatever the case may be. And, as those years progressed and I started to watch the game more and more and more, I just, started to enjoy it and actually grew a passion for it. And, I love the way that the game is played. It's, in my opinion, it's like a variety of different sports because you can kick the puck. You can do so many things. You can body check, you can fight, you can do a variety of different things. And it's like the whole element of the game is like, it's one of the toughest sports. I watch every sport there is. Hockey has to be one of the most difficult sports there is. Talking about hand-to-eye coordination, being on the ice, having to look up while the puck is down on the ice. It's a little puck, and, we have these players that are going like 100 miles per hour, so it's not the players, but the puck is, coming off the stick at like 100 miles per hour. So I would say it's been a long journey of ups and downs with the Capitals, but it started with Alex Ovechkin being drafted and me being around that age where I was like, I need to buckle down and have a favorite team now, not just bounce around. The Capitals were on TV, so they were the team for me.
Gotcha. Now, have you kind of taught the game to any other people that are wanting to learn or just in general information with people?
Yeah, so of course, my friends are skeptical on like, why are you, into hockey? For people that are, look the same as we do, it's not something that's prominent in the culture. So, me being different and trying to steer my own way, trying to get into the sports media field, I had a lot of mentors tell me, talk to me in different areas and say, you have to be, distinctive in what you're doing. And you have to be different. You have to dare to be different. And knowing that it's not a lot of people that look like me that's in the sport of hockey, I always had that thought of, when I was watching the game when I was younger, like, why isn't there a lot of brothers in the game? You know, like why isn't there a lot of players that, you know, I can associate myself with, look up to, you know, like in the NBA when we had Allen Iverson when I was growing up. You had Michael Vick in football being, we're going to get to it later why I'm a even Atlanta Falcons fan. You had these cultural shifters. It wasn't that so much so in hockey. So I just wanted to be different, you know what I mean, in that avenue. And so, you know, telling my friends about it and telling them about, you know, just the game. And that's the main important thing. That's the most important thing. They have to understand the game of hockey before you can even get out on the ice to play it. You know, with any sport, you have to actually understand the rules, understand where it came from, understand the dynamics of certain teams who had dynasties, you know, just study and work yourself through it. And the more that you know, engrave yourself in the sport, the more success that you're going to have with understanding it and being able to teach. And so that's all that I've been trying to do so far in my young career is, you know, writing and getting these articles out to, you know, the multitudes of people who are Caps fans and not just Capitals fans, but, you know, hockey fans in general, you know. And I think me being an African-American male writing hockey, it's kind of a, you know, a flag, caution flag, but at the same time, it's interesting. So I knew that avenue might be something that would be good for myself and also for my friends to see that we can dabble in different lanes. Is different avenues in life that you can pursue. You don't have to just go the straight and narrow, you know. And so I think that that's something that my friends look at and they give me props to.
Gotcha. Okay. Now it's definitely good to hear about your love for the game and you know how you try to share it. But of course, this is a football show.
Absolutely.
So we gotta talk some football. So who's your favorite team in the NFL and how did you become a fan?
So as I just alluded to with, you know, the culture shifters in sports when I was younger, my favorite color is red. So you know, I was looking at the game, you know, didn't really understand the game when I was younger, but you know, my uncle always told me, he was like, hey, Malik, like, you don't really understand the game right now until you get of age to where you can actually know the players, the positions, the coaches, and everything of that nature, the X and O's of the game. And so I once I got of age, I saw Michael Vick play against the Vikings in the playoffs. Of course, when he scored the touchdown, he ran it in the end zone. And I was just like, wow, this guy is amazing. And he was young at the time, so I kind of wanted to follow his career. And I was young, so I was like, you know, the Falcons have red in their uniform. You know, why not? And so, you know, being here in Washington D.C., my whole family is Washington football team fans. Now, of course, the aforementioned Washington Redskins, but you know, Patrick Ramsey. It was so many different quarterbacks. I just couldn't get with the Washington sports teams at the time, except for the Wizards, of course. But it was like everybody else was just bad, and I just wanted to be different again. To my point of just being a hockey journalist, I always wanted to be different in every way. So I didn't want to just be like, "Hey, I'm a Redskin fan," because you know my family's are all Redskin fans. Like I just wanted to be different in that way. So that's why I became a Falcons fan.
Gotcha. Now, what do you think of this season they're having so far? You know, were you expecting what you've seen this year? Worse, better? What are your thoughts?
Oh man, you hit me with one right there. Honestly, I'm pretty. I'm pretty impressed to have 7 wins. Honestly, I didn't even think, you know, from the season we had last year that we would even have 7 wins so far. We have a stout young corner and AJ Terrell, who is actually coming to have his own presence in this league, and people are starting to notice his name. And of course, Kyle Pitts, the Pro Bowl rookie, he's playing phenomenal this year. But you know, we lost Calvin Ridley like a couple games into the season. You know, he's on for personal reasons. He's not coming back to play for us right now. And then you have Matt Ryan. You know, he's looking okay, but you know, I wanted us to draft a quarterback at that number 3 slot last year when we selected Kyle Pitts, or was it the 4th selection? I think it was number 3 or 4. But I wanted us to go out and get a quarterback, but I'm not even upset about getting Kyle Pitts because he's showing that he is going to possibly be a generational talent. He's already close to breaking Mike Dicker's what is it? Most receiving yards for a tight end in his rookie season. So I'm impressed with that, and I know that we're going to talk about, Julio Jones leaving after his exit with being with us for a decade. It was just, it's kind of shocking to me that we have 7 wins though, because I just didn't think that we would be able to be competing in our division. But again, COVID, injuries, you never know what happens any given Sunday. Anything could happen. So I think we've been very fortunate this season to squeak through with wins. But to say that it's not impressive would be an understatement, because it definitely is. I definitely didn't think we would have 7 wins, but we shall see.
Speaking of go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay. Speaking of your favorite team, of course, your head coach this season came from a team within the AFC South. That would be the Tennessee Titans. Indeed. Of course, plenty were expecting good things, great things from Julio Jones once the Titans traded for him. Not so much so far. He's kind of been off injured and not as productive as many thought he would be. Probably going to have his lowest total of yards, probably for his career. Is this the Julio Jones that you expected once he got traded to the Titans? Did you expect him to have this downward trajectory like this?
Honestly, I didn't think that it would be this terrible. Again, his stats, he has 26 receptions, 376 receiving yards. And of course, everybody would always say, oh, he's not scoring touchdowns. He has 0 touchdowns on the year. The biggest thing for me with Julio was, his last couple seasons with us, he played through injuries throughout every season, and it was always his hamstrings. And again, that's something that's been, coming up with the Tennessee Titans. And so I just didn't think that he was going to continue to nurse those injuries and play through it, because Julio's one tough dude. I'm not even going to lie. Being a Falcons fan for those 10 years, like I said, those last 3 years when he wasn't as healthy as he was, coming out, he still played through injuries, and still was getting 150-yard games. It was ridiculous. And again, though, I didn't think that trading him away would have done this, but it's kind of working out for the Falcons in the best favor, because we have Cordell Patterson, and kind of came out of nowhere this year and is playing very well for us. Again, not having Calvin Ridley on the team has been just up and down for us all year. But for Julio and the Titans, man, like I said, injuries. That's pretty much been their season. Injuries just have been plaguing them all year. And again, with Julio, I think that, with time, I think he's almost getting up there. I think a couple more years, and then he's going to probably retire. But he had a shot to get the championship. It still bites me to this day that we couldn't deliver that for him. But in a tight AFC, the way that it is this season, and looking like it's going to be highly competitive for the next coming years, especially with these good quarterbacks, I don't know if Julio might, get a chance to get to the Super Bowl again. I don't know. So, yeah.
Well, one thing I'll say is, Julio isn't, of course, the only player that's injured on this team. I mean, the Titans have pretty much used – they set an NFL record this year for most players used on a roster.
Oh, my goodness.
So, of course, they've been without Derrick Henry for a little over 2 months.
Yeah.
And they just got back wide receiver AJ Brown touchdown against the San Francisco 49ers recently. Now, with all their pieces back, of course, there are reports that Henry is going to be back for the playoffs, and potentially there's also reports that he could be back next week, potentially. Do you give the Titans a chance to make a run in the AFC with all those pieces back?
Man, again, kind of on my last point that I just said, the Titans are a good team. Don't get me wrong, and adding in Derrick Henry, I'm always skeptical when players come back from injury so fast, especially with football. I'm the type of guy that thinks that you should nurse and heal and let your body heal up, especially with a player like Derrick Henry, who's going to be taking multiple hits from guys coming, knowing that how big and stout he is. You know what I mean? They're going to be coming after Derrick Henry. He is the best running back in the league. So I just think, with certain injuries, you just shouldn't rush to come back. Even with Julio Jones, I think he played in the last game, but he was a shell of himself. He had one reception for like 7 yards. You're coming back from injuries very fast. It just doesn't sit right with me, and I also don't think that it sit right with the chemistry of the team as well. And for the Titans, their division, you know what I mean. They have the Houston Texans, the Jaguars. Both teams aren't really that doing too well, as you alluded to in the introduction of the show. They just aren't a good team. So when you're picking up wins against these teams, you go up against, those Kansas City Chiefs, the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow and those boys. Yes, Joe Burrow is young, but, their team, and also they're hot right now. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Now, I'm not counting them out, though. It's any given Sunday. Anything can happen. But, and also getting key players back can be, good for AJ Brown. He's been going off the past couple of weeks. So having Derrick Henry out there, you have to stack the box. And then that opens up one-on-ones for, Julio Jones, for AJ Brown, for the other weapons that they have on their team. So I think that, getting Derrick Henry back, that's going to be pretty good. But, it's the AFC is tough. It's tough this year. It's very tough.
Well, I hear you. I don't know. I wouldn't count them out, but hey, you never know. Like you said, any given Sunday,
yeah,
it can happen. Of course, we talked about one team that everyone expects in the playoffs, but we do have to talk about the other team everyone expects in the playoffs. AFC. That started the season 1-4, and have since turned it on, going 8-2 over the last 10 games, posting a 9-6 record now. Did you see this type of run coming from them?
So what's funny is I watched their in-season Hard Knocks on HBO. They actually have an in-season Hard Knocks this year, which is crazy to me. And I didn't, the Indianapolis Colts were kind of sort of the team that had it together. They lost Andrew Luck. They lost the quarterback, but their team was still solid. Like, they had a good receiving core, they had a good defense, and they're always consistent with their offensive line. And you give Carson Wentz, kind of people thought that he was going to be a shell of himself. You send him over to the Colts, and you get him with a star running back, Jonathan Taylor. I mean, what can you say about the guy? He has 1,600 rushing yards, 17 touchdowns. I mean, the man is he's playing out of his mind right now. The Colts have been very impressive, man. Michael Pittman Jr., you still have T.Y. over there. I'm impressed with the Colts. I really, to say that they were going to be in the spot that they are right now after they started the season the way that they did, and everybody was bashing Carson Wentz and, oh, he's not going to do it. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. And then Jonathan Taylor just started to erupt. We were getting games of him having 3 touchdowns, 260 rushing yards. Like, he's looking like, a superstar. You can put him up there for Offensive Player of the Year. I think that the Colts have been very, very impressive. And like I said, with all of those players and the momentum that they have right now going for themselves, they're playing really good. And I'm impressed with them.
All right. Now, of course, the combination running the ball, as you mentioned, with Jonathan Taylor. And then you have, of course, the defense, and then Wentz showing he can make plays when they need him to.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you feel they are more of a threat in the playoffs than the Henry came back and things like that?
I'm sorry. You kind of buffered a little bit.
Okay. Do you with the Colts in their entirety, the running game, Wentz making timely plays in the passing game and the defense, do you consider them a tougher out in the playoffs than what the Titans would be, considering if they were a whole team?
Yeah, I think the momentum. as I alluded to, the momentum of the team, the chemistry. They're also on Hard Knocks, like I said. I don't know if people pay attention to the show at all, but the Cowboys were on Hard Knocks and the Colts. Both teams have been very, very successful this year. They've been playing out of their minds for both respective conferences. It's been fun to see. Honestly, I didn't know. Usually the teams from Hard Knocks don't play too well, so it's interesting to actually see the progression of these players and to see them play well. So the momentum of the Colts, it just looks like they might be the better team. And again, the Tennessee Titans have just been, I mean, the injuries, man. I mean, you can't just come back from injuries, put players in the lineup, the chemistry, with these players that have been playing their whole season. You look at these like the teams, Kansas City Chiefs, they've been up and down with injuries and COVID and stuff of that nature, but then they went on a run as the Colts did. They went on the winning streak. So it's really all about momentum in the National Football League, I believe. So maybe the Tennessee Titans could surprise a couple people, as they did when they beat the Patriots. Correct, if I'm not mistaken, they beat the Patriots right this year. Then
No. They lost to the Patriots.
they lost to the Patriots. So who was the team that the Tennessee Titans just beat about 2 weeks ago?
Tennessee Titans just beat the 49ers this past Thursday night.
Maybe it was the 49ers.
They surprised. The biggest game that I believe that they surprised a lot of people was when they were on prime time playing against the Los Angeles Rams after the game after Derrick Henry.
That's what it was. I think that's what it was. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll see.
All right. Now, of course, we've talked about, of course, the two top dogs in the division. We do have to visit the basement, though. All right. Well, of course, we're going to start talking about the Houston Texans up first, of course. The Texans are a little bit of a mess right now, even though they did win this past Sunday against the Los Angeles. They're still a little, looking at them, they don't necessarily have a ton of foundational players there. I think they're trying to make Davis Mills one in terms of a quarterback. But they don't have very many foundational pieces. Brandon Cooks is another. Here they are at 4-11. Did you expect them to make it to 4-11 this season?
No. It's certain teams that you look at, in the NFL, and you believe that they should just be bad. You don't think that they're going to pick up any wins. You don't think that they're going to be good. As you alluded to, they don't have a lot of players that you think of. Of course, Deshaun Watson and his allegations and things of that nature. Losing T.J. Watt. Excuse me.
J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt. Excuse me. Losing J.J. Watt. They just don't have anybody there anymore. Mills looked like he might have a little bit of potential going for himself. He's been playing pretty well for the team. He's been very surprising. I just don't think that, having 4 wins, will they be more productive? Will they continue to finish out the season in a strong manner? They can. Do I expect them to do much in the next coming years? Maybe they get a few draft picks, and they go out and try to hire some better coaches. But I think it comes down to that point of having your organization and the footprints and the doors to where as though they can step through it and it'll be an easily accessible thing. It's not easily accessible for that team right now. And I think that Houston, again, surprising people with 4 wins, it's impressive, but it's not. It's kind of shocking that they do have 4 wins, But
hey. I tell you what, I didn't expect four wins. But just given just the overall nature of their team with the last few years, you have of course Jack Easterby going to being a head man in charge or one of the top people in charge, and he never really ran anything on a football team besides being Bill O'Brien, who was the GM and the head coach and traded DeAndre Hopkins. Watt didn't want to be there. I mean, what do you think about this? Thoughts on this organization in general? Just in general, not just football wise, just in general.
Yeah, it's a freak show, honestly. I mean, you just have so much things that's going against the normalities of an NFL organization. I mean, just the scandals, players not wanting to be there. Obviously, the owner, something isn't right with him. Things came up when George Floyd passed away, and then it was, things coming out from the ownership. So it's just a lot of stuff going on with Houston that is just not right, and obviously with players going and not wanting to play for the team is something that's really deeply enrooted with the organization that people don't want to say, but it's obvious something isn't right. Kind of with the Washington football team, all of these allegations that come up. You have multiple players that come in and out of the system each year, and something isn't right. And then you have these former players starting to want to come out to write books now with RG3. So, I feel like we're going to have more players come out when they retire and start to expose some of the actual things that were happening with these organizations. And I think Houston might be one for the books, definitely.
I definitely would love to hear what some of the players think behind the scenes of Jack Easterby. But I digress. Let's see. Certainly not last at least in terms of wins in the division, but the Jacksonville Jaguars. Things went from bad to worse as they lost this past weekend against the New York Jets. Do you think they will ever get it right?
Man, I mean, double first round pick. It looked like they're going to have the first pick again this year, right? From the it's crazy, isn't it? You look at this team and you just shake your head. You're like, what can go wrong? Everything that can go wrong obviously goes wrong with them. It's just a freak show, and I feel kind of bad for Trevor Lawrence. Going through high school, going through college, he was just a winner, straight up winner. And now coming into the pros, he has to deal with not only losing his head coach in the first, 10 games of the season, but now you have to deal with an organization that is just in shambles and has been in shambles for multiple years. Man, it hits you right here. It's like a pinch, somebody jabbing you right here in the rib cage or something. It's like, why can't these guys shake it? You're getting these players, you think that you're making the right moves, but you're not. And then you go a little bit down further in Florida, you look at Tampa Bay. I mean, they kind of had the same type of aura for their team. They had one Super Bowl, but other than that, Tom Brady just brought them out of nowhere. So I think it starts with having, first of all, a foundation. And they do have Trevor Lawrence. He's probably, supposedly supposed to be a generational talent. So it starts with having a quarterback. I do think that they can bounce off of that, but they have to get a good head coach. They have to get somebody that's firm. They have to get somebody that understands the NFL, somebody with some experience, somebody that's been around. And I think that the owners they have to dig a little bit deeper in their search this time for a coach. And it'll be interesting to see. But the Jaguars, if we're comparing the two between the Jaguars and the Houston Texans, well, if I could, I would definitely like the direction of the Texans a little bit more per se, but they're both, like you said, they're in the bottom of the basement with the division. So it'll definitely be a journey for them to get on the level of those two top dogs in the next 4 to 5 years, I would say.
I hear you there. But while I heard you talked about a experienced head coach. He might not be an experienced head coach, but he is experienced with Jacksonville. And his name is Byron Leftwich. Of course, his name's been mentioned and talked about as a potential new head coach of the Jags next season. What do you think about the potential hiring of the former Jags first-round pick there?
I absolutely love it. And I'm happy for Byron Leftwich, first and foremost. I was excited to see how many black coaches who were on the staff for the Buccaneers last year when they won the Super Bowl. It was exciting to actually see a lot of us get recognition because, through the years, a lot of black coaches, period, haven't had the chance to get that promotion to be a head coach. So it's good to see a lot of black head coaches are getting more opportunities. Is looking towards the future or having more opportunities being given. So I'm definitely on the team for him to get a shot for the team. He definitely has great experience playing with Tom Brady, being with Bruce Arians, excuse me. So I think give him a shot. And he's definitely been a candidate in the names of people talking about being available for any head coaching vacancy. So I think that he should take advantage of it. And like you said, he already is familiar with the organization. People in Jacksonville, they're familiar with him. Of course, their fan base has been in shambles, but that might bring a little bit of joy back to the organization and to the fan base. So I would give it a shot. I wouldn't be mad to see it.
All right, last question. And I'm going to mix it a little bit with hockey.
Okay.
If you had to choose one player from the NFL to play hockey, of course, and be pretty good at it, potentially, what position would he play? I don't know. But who would it be and why?
Okay, so this is an interesting question. I actually never thought about it. Of course, they would have to be skilled. They would have to have hand-eye coordination. They would have to be a little bit stocky, have to be muscular. You can't just play either one of these sports without lifting weights or being able to be agile and on the tip of your toes. So I actually went with Alex Ovechkin. I'm a little bit biased, but if you look at his frame, he's a 6'3", 238 pounds. I mean, the guy has scored over 750 goals in the hockey league. He has 615 assists in the hockey league. I think that he would play either tight end or middle linebacker. And he also has over 1,400 hits in the NHL. So he could definitely translate over to the NFL, I think, playing tight end or maybe middle linebacker just because he could hit. And I just think that he'll be a good tight end. He'll be able to be he doesn't get hurt. You know what I mean? So I think that having somebody that'll be around and consistent, yeah, especially for the NFL when you have to play 17 games a season, you definitely have to be durable. So I will go with Alex Ovechkin in terms of an NHL player to turn into an NFL player, and then vice versa. How fun would it be to have Lamar Jackson on skates? I mean, you're talking about a guy that is hella athletic, fast as I don't know what. And if he actually knew the game of hockey, I mean, come on, man. Him or Kyler Murray. I was just trying to think of like two people who are like agile and quick on their feet. And in hockey, like you need to have a little bit of a quickness. And so I think that both of them, and then they're both quarterbacks, so obviously they're smart. They'll play center. Those are the people who take the face-offs and mostly assist. They're both quarterbacks, so they pass the ball around. So I think that they'll be good assisters and they'll score a few goals as well. I think that it would be fun to have both of them in some skates.
One thing I will say is, you pick two guys. One guy's from Florida and one guy's from Texas. So, ain't too much ice going on down in both of those.
But, much of nothing. But it would be. But if they could translate, though, think about it. If they could, it would be interesting. Just in their athletic dynamics, like they're both athletic. I mean, it would be fun to see.
That's true. You're right. Well, I just want to thank you for coming on and tell everyone where they can find you at on social media, anything you may be working on.
Okay, thanks. I'm about to continue to do more articles for the 3pointconversion.com. You can check me out on Instagram at Sports by Malik. As my handle says right here, everything is proper. You can also add me on Twitter at Sports by Malik. I am on Facebook. It's Sports by Malik as well on there. Just search me. And if you want to hit me up on LinkedIn, Malik Jackson on LinkedIn, you can find me an NHL writer for the 3-point conversion on there. And if you want to message me on any of my social media platforms, I'll be open to pretty much anything. And again, Mike, thanks for your time and thanks for your platform. And I wish you the best on your journey to continue to to be great at what you do. I definitely admire from afar and watch your stuff and keep up with everything. So I just wish you the best, and in both of our careers, I just wish that we continue to grow and help each other and just continue to learn and feed off of each other. So I'm proud of our success and the progression that we've had. And happy holidays to you. I know New Year's is about to come. To you and your family, I continue to wish and pray for good health, of course. And so stay safe, and we'll do this again hopefully soon.
I hear you, man. And thank you again, and wishing great things for you in the upcoming year as well, and happy holidays as well. That's it. That's the show. Thank you all for watching and listening. You've been checked into Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. We're out.